too, because, you know, as much as I would agree with the fact that these hairstyles shouldn't affect how kids learn, and I don't think it does affect how kids learn, I think that, you know, there is a level of preparedness, is that a word? Yeah, preparedness, that you can bring
Just
forth
make
by
Just make it up.
that you can bring forth by that you can bring forth by, you know, doing that. And I think that if that's the reason for it, you know, when we were in school, or when I was in school, they would tell us straight up that was why. They never made it a thing where it was like, oh, well, if you wear this hair, it'll distract people. Like, they never really beat around the bush and gave us excuses like that. Mm-hmm. They were telling us, you know, we personally don't care how you wear your hair, but once you get in the professional world, you have to present yourself a certain way.
I think, though, Amber, if I can interject, go ahead. I'm sorry, Principal.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to share this because you said something. If these things were communicated at the inception of the school year or at the inception of the business relationship, you know, that could be understood.
Right.
But a lot of these allegations and these comments that are made by the school system are well after school has begun. Right. And I think that we overstep our boundaries when it comes to us telling people how they should present themselves.
And I agree.
Yeah, I think there should be a general consensus that says you need to be presentable. Fine. But when you begin to tell me or my child or anyone else's child, your hair has to be this way, it has to be that way, I think we overstep our boundaries and we take liberties that are not necessarily extended to us. And now we are telling people to develop an image that will comply with someone else's appetite and not necessarily what they want to do as an individual. And so I know some parochial schools have a strict presentation that they're asking their students to comply with. But a public school, there's usually a little liberty.
Yeah, more leeway.
Yeah. And you can correct me on this.
Yeah, and if I'm going to a private school, those are choices that I made.
Yes,
they have things in place. I have decided to not join public school. I have made the conscious choice to go to private school.
Right.
Therein lies, I know it's going to be different things.
Right.
I have agreed to accept that.
Right.
So if I've agreed to accept that, then the onus is on me.
Right.
Public school, that's onus should not. We tell the parents, you know, we talk about them, and I'm just say it. We talk about them if they don't send them to school this way. But when they send them to school this way, then we talk about that as well.
Exactly.
So we say, oh, this kid looks like this kid looks like that. But when they send them to school with their extensions, well groomed, it's still something to say about that as well.
And you know,
so what are the parents supposed to do?
And you know, I also, just to touch on that, because what you just said kind of like sparked a thing in my head.
Okay.
You know, I think this is also kind of a reflection on who's making these rules. Mm-hmm. Because if you had any black woman or black man who was helping to make these rules, first of all, there are only so many ways to like tell let's take a different approach.
Okay.
Because this is actually something that I read. So a girl was going to school every day, and her hair, you know, she has like the curly hair, so she used to wear it like in an afro. Mm-hmm. And so the school said, you know, her hair was like, it looked unkept or untamed or whatever, right? So her mom put braids in her hair, because everybody knows in the black community that you cannot keep straightening your hair every day. It'll break off. So one of the things about the braids that I really don't understand is that's a protective style. You could put braids in a bun, you could put braids in a ponytail, you could put braids anywhere, but it's like, it's kind of one of those things where like I can understand both sides of the issue, because I have definitely seen the kids who come to public school with their hair looking a mess.
Sure.
However, it's like, in order to solve that problem, people do dread their hair, and they do put braids in their hair, because that's a good way to it's a good way to maintain controlled styles, if you will. Like,
right.
Your hair can only get but so quote unquote messy when it's in braids or in dreadlocks.
Right. Now, if I can interject, Amber, and just going back to what Principal Mathis said,
right,
and she spoke about how CCSD has a policy where you can wear your hair in a presentable manner, as long as it is not a distraction to students' learning.
right.
And when we consider what has been presented in the media, I don't believe that their hairstyles were a distraction
At all.
Right. And so I think that it is a person who has a problem individually with an individual's hairstyle, because it may present something that they don't personally like. Does that make sense? So I'm going to impose what I like and what I dislike on a student because it's my own preference. And I don't believe that school systems laws are catered around individuals and their preference concerning hairstyle and even style, period.
Right.
And I think that when you begin to impose your feelings of a child or their hairstyle into your interaction with them, I think you've overstepped your boundaries.
I agree.
And that's why I asked Ms. Mathis earlier, was it discriminatory for them to, I mean, and it's offensive. Yeah. When I read it, when I consider it, and me being a father of daughters, listen, sometimes it's challenging to keep an African-American girl's hair done every single day.
It is.
And you have a job and you're a working parent. And so you do put the hair in braids because it's easy to deal with.
Right.
You know, you will put it in a ponytail and stuff. And then in today's time, these kids are so creative. And so, Ms. Mathis, I want to ask you as well, you know, at what point do we as parents say, you know what, you've overstepped your boundaries. I don't think that you as an institution have a right to tell me how my child is supposed to present themselves.
And that's what they have to do.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what the parents have to do, like the girl in the girl in Florida. That's what her parents did. The parents have to say, this is enough. You've overstepped your boundaries. You said, send a kid to school to learn. I sent my kid to school every day to learn. She was well grown. You sent her home. This is enough. And the parents have to take that stand. The school districts are good enough of the parents taking the stand. The Clark County School District doesn't have such a rule. I want to make sure that I was clear on that. Like, CCSD does not have a grooming policy for students' hair necessarily, other than well grown.
Okay.
Students would not be sent home by locks. Students would not be. Now, a clause does say that if the administration deems that it is distractive to other students, then they can ask the student to change their hair. Again, on that, I would tell the parents to challenge it. Tell me who it's distractive to.
Right. What does distractive mean?
Yeah.
So I'm going to use part of the bully law because it says it impedes another student from learning. So I'm so in awe of your hair, I can't stop looking at it. I'm mesmerized by it. I can't do anything but look at your hair because it's so blue.
Okay.
I can't even concentrate on what the teacher is saying. So your hair is just too blue. It's blinding me. It's distracting me. It's, whatever excuse one might use.
Right.
But that's what it is considered impedes one from learning. Now, I would challenge that and say, tell me who said it.
I get it.
Give me some evidence that a child has been distracted by my hair.
Yeah.
Now, that has happened in CCSD. I think it was O'Callahan. I don't want to quote the school because I'm not 100% sure.
Sure.
But that's on the Review Journal's page. I looked that up earlier.
Well, and just looking at the distraction piece, and as time is evolving and more people are doing all kinds of creative things with their hair, and you now have people that are also doing a lot of tattooing. So does that same policy apply if I came in with a bald head full of tattoos that said all kinds of crazy things? I guess that would, where would that
would probably be a distraction too.
Wow.
So I think we need to take the focus and put it where it needs to be put.
Yes.
Make sure that we are educating students of color and non-color, and let the parents send them to school, because that's what they're supposed to do. Send them to school, let us educate them, and let us stay in our lane, and let parents stay in their lane.
Exactly.
It's easy.
Exactly.
And I know I'm making it simplistic, but that's what we need to. That's what we need to keep the focus at, so all students can be successful. Should be an advantage for one and a disadvantage for another.
And that's the whole point, is to make sure that regardless of what kind of hairstyle you have, again, unless you're not clean and healthy looking, that I think we could all agree upon that. And other things that come into this, hairstyles are subjective also. So where, back in the day when I was back in Baltimore, where you had like 10 feet of hair and then it curled in the front and then you had a sliding board on the back of it attached to your neck,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, that's
the mullet. You had the mullet. And
oh, yeah. You had all kind of stuff. You had a mullet, a fade, some dreadlocks, all kind of stuff.
Oh, my gosh.
But to me, that was beautiful. To someone else, it's like, what in the heck is that? Just between the same household. So, some of these things are so subjective, and I agree. At the end of the day, you don't want the young people caught up in some subjective nonsense that's going to keep them away from learning.
And I think it goes back to I'm sorry, Chief. I think it goes back to what Angela Mathis had shared with us. It attacks the confidence of the child. Right. And once your confidence is gone, it's hard for you to engage in any type of learning process. And I think ultimately that is the issue, because if you would deal with the average African American school, listen, everybody in there is unbelievable. You got weaves everywhere. You got young men wear weaves these days. They got hair pieces. I'm bald head. I'm bald.
Lace front beard.
Exactly. Bald heads matter. Amen.
Yes,
so, when you consider the creativity that is being embraced with hairdos and different things like that, there's probably going to always be some type of egregious behavior towards our young people, and their hair. So at what point do we say as parents, you know what, enough is enough? I saw my child when they left out the house today and they look presentable to me. And it goes back to us challenging these school systems and saying, hey, you are discriminating against my child, and I don't appreciate that, because really you are attacking their confidence and they can't learn properly.
But, I guess the point that I'm trying to make in my main argument is that I really think that, like a lot of things when it comes to trying to diversify, you have people who will say, oh, look at my school district, it's so diverse, but they don't understand the cultures of the people. So, for example, what I mean is, you have this statement that was made after the punishment of the 15-year-old twins. The punishment of the 15-year-old twins, Deanna and Maya Cook, where the Mystic Valley Regional Charter School said in their statement that our policy on hair extensions, which tend to be very expensive, is consistent with and a part of the educational environment that we believe is so important to our students' success. When I went to school, there were just as many girls who were not of color wearing extensions as black girls wearing extensions. So I just really think it's one of those things where it's like, how are you, first of all, hair extensions, which tend to be very expensive. I have bought packs of hair that